Hello, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to a video I wanted to make because last week and weekend were stressful, very stressful, and I'd like to talk about a few things. First thing I want to talk about is the fact that I was very correct with my last video I posted, and many people did not agree with me. Not on all my points, but on one point very much so in particular, and I'll get to that in a second. And the next thing I want to talk about is this top. Somebody pointed out in my last video, they said, where did you get your top from? Target had a bunch of these. They're doing like their own Skims thing now. I don't know what your Target is doing, but they're like $10. I don't know why I keep pulling on it in that way. They're like $10 or $12 or something. They're really cheap and they're super comfortable. So I have one in this color, red, black, dark brown, and teal. And now let's go ahead and get into this video. I'd like to take a moment and revisit Love is Blind because after the 2 episodes that aired last week, the collective Love is Blind community was really stressed the F out. First, when we talk about this show, the first thing we have to talk about is the different conflicts in the way that they were perceived by people. I watched the episode and then I sat down immediately and recorded my response. And then I waited a little bit before I edited it and just checked social media, checked to see what everybody else was saying. And I realized I was so far away from anyone else's takes. And there were really simple things that I was far away on, like Alex and Tim. People seemed to be split on who the villain was there between the two of them. And then there was obviously something big that I was far away on with people, which was the Hannah and Nick relationship. I could just recognize that their dynamic was really unhealthy and he did not need to commit to this situation. So I thought Hannah was actually very merciful in breaking off the connection with him. But a lot of people came to his defense. If you spent any time on the internet last weekend, then you know that to be true. Nick's DMs are probably filled with women who are ready to boil his water, fold his clothes, feed his cat, and whatever else he might need. When I see him now and how he's presenting himself, I get a very Mike the Situation vibe from him. I mean, he's out there. He's on social media videos. He's hosting things already. So this situation that happened with Hannah is really a blessing in his life because she was the bigger villain, because people recognized her as just the main problem in their dynamic. I think that he got more than his fair share of mercy and compassion. And I think that he got more than his fair share than he would have gotten if she was a decent individual. I think if Hannah was decent, then people would have been like, oh yeah, I mean, that man, he can't even boil water. Like, are you serious? He won't even eat the box. And on that note, I thought it was really interesting that people skipped over that when it came to him. Whereas in other situations where that's been the case, and we found that out about somebody like DJ Khaled or DJ Envy, all the DJs, we have mocked these men to oblivion. We told DJ Khaled's wife, girl, leave him, girl. And she ain't going nowhere. But I mean, he came out and said some really derogatory things about the concept of performing oral sex on his wife. And we all just, oh, and yet Nick comes and he says he don't do it. And we're like, it's fine. It doesn't need to be done. It's overrated anyway. You know, you have to be a big bitch to make women forget about something like that. I'll just say social media was rife with opinions about their dynamic, with most people siding with Nick, but it was definitely a hot topic over the weekend. I think Hannah and Nick were probably the hottest topic that I saw people talking about. And I just had to keep quiet because I knew, okay, I done already said my piece and people are disagreeing with me. And I want to say too, in my video where I talked about this, I never said that I condoned her. I just said I liked her from a objective sense. I can see positives, but I never said I condone her, I condone their relationship, or that it was in any way healthy. And I want to make that clear. Moving on. So that was the conversation about Hannah and Nick. I do want to mention one more thing about Ramses and Marissa. Marissa came out and said that she does have an autoimmune disease, and that in that particular situation in the show, her autoimmune disease was flaring up. And Ramses, and she was also like in law school, so much was going on. He was being a petulant child, basically, and still wanting her attention and wanting her to touch him, even though she's like hanging on for dear life. I don't think he's a very supportive partner at all. I think it goes way beyond his birth control confusion. And that brings me to another point. I definitely made clear in that video that I was speaking from my perspective and the people that I've spoken to in my life. But I want to say that if people are that varied on their choices of birth control and what they do with their bodies and their committed partnerships. If it's that individualized in real life, then I hope we're clear on who we're voting for when it comes to election day. You want to vote for somebody who protects your right to be specific and individualized when it comes to your reproductive health. I just want to put that out there. Women really are fragile creatures because of our reproductive system. There's a lot of different knickknacks and paddywhacks that you have to have even to deal with us. What I've learned from just kind of listening to people's comments and seeing what other couples do in relationships to stay committed, heterosexual couples, it's almost a health hazard for a woman to be involved with a man. She's pumping herself full of hormones. She might become, with child in a situation that could possibly take her life. There's so many hazards. And even with all that, we still have to put up with conversations about, well, you're not being feminine enough and you're too much in your masculine energy. What do you bring to the table? Make sure you can get... we showed up. Shit, we're here. It's a lot. So I think it's very important to have a governing body in charge that is aware of that and is aware that people can take all the precautions in the world and still there can be something that happens. A pregnancy can happen, and if it doesn't happen at the right time or if it's not viable, it can cause real trouble to an already very fragile human being, the woman. And we've seen that over the past few years with the different things that have happened since reproductive rights have been repealed back. So I just want to say, if I and you can have these conversations where we talk about, and we see this happening in reality shows where people are talking about, hey, before we go any further, what are we going to do about my reproductive health? You need to be on board. And we're sitting up here talking about all the different ways people, okay, if A squared plus B squared, okay, C squared, we can do it on this day. We need to make sure we have people in charge that listen to science and people who respect what we choose to do with our bodies. It is important. It is life or death. Would you want a Ramses in charge of your reproductive system and making laws for you? I don't think so. And should birth control for men not be mandatory, like outside of a condom? Why they can't give them a pill at this point? I don't get it. Anyway, let's move on from that and let's move on to the thing that really just snatched social media's wig off, which was when Tyler's baby mama came out of the shadows and said, I'm ready to tell my story. Now, for those of us on TikTok, especially if you follow the young lady that I have pointed out many of times, the Good Sis Story Time with Ricky, okay? I don't know where she getting information from. She already knows who got married. She already knows like what happened at the reunion. I don't know who she talking to, but she talking to him, okay? And from the beginning, she has been letting us know Tyler has $30,000 in back child support that he owes. He has different judgments that people have filed against him, that women who have sent him money have filed against him. I think that's the right terminology. But he got women out there who have tried to come after their money, okay? And now we know, and we knew about the kids, but we didn't exactly know if he was hiding them, if he still kept in contact with them, if he's just saying they're sperm donors on TV and that's what the baby mama is mad about. Like, we didn't really know. Well, late in the midnight hour on, I think it was Saturday night, Tyler's baby mama got on Instagram, and it was the Instagram story heard around the world. She started talking about what the truth is when it comes to her and Tyler and those babies. Turns out the truth is what we already knew if you've been paying attention. The first child is a sperm donor child. The last two children were conceived naturally between her and Tyler. Of course, everybody was flipping out about that because, well, she's a lesbian. I told y'all in the last video, when they say sexuality is a spectrum, they mean it. It doesn't just mean somebody can go from straight to gay. It also means that, hey, if somebody sleeps with men, they can, or somebody sleeps with women, they can decide one day, I want to sleep with a man. They can develop an attraction to a man. She is a person who identified mostly as a lesbian. She's not dead, okay? So I was really surprised at how binary people's thinking was about that. But then once again, my perspective, I guess I've just met a lot of different kinds of people that have tried different things. I don't know. I would be surprised if the first child wasn't also naturally conceived. I'd be surprised. According to Storytime with Ricky and the things she pulled up, that is actually the case. And that's why the first wife left Tyler's baby mama. I don't know if her name is Bree, or I think her name is Bree. I think that's what her name is. We also learned that Tyler has apparently not been in contact with those children since September of 2023, like a day or so before he left to go be on Love is Blind. That to me is unforgivable. The whole idea of him not talking to them at all, seemingly going into his new life with Ashley and just leaving those kids behind. That is what I think collectively broke social media's heart across the board. I didn't respect Tyler in the beginning, like to begin with, but I kind of lose all respect for Ashley too. Just because it seems like you want to make sure if you are in a relationship with a man who does have children previously, that he's a good dad. I think that that's important, and that the kids aren't asking, where's my daddy? Like, I could not do it. And so I just kind of wonder what her thinking is with that. She did respond to someone was writing in her comments, because both Ashley and Tyler have been very vigilant about their comment section. They haven't had their comments off, but Ashley does have some captions where she's like, I will block you. And apparently she's been blocking folks. They've been limiting comments, filtering things. This time around though, Ashley did respond to someone, and you can kind of see it here. I took a screenshot of it from a video that another content creator over on TikTok made about the situation. I had to take a screenshot because Ashley has since deleted that comment, and I think also blocked that commenter. But she basically says that any claim that Tyler's baby mama makes is unauthenticated. And it's like, girl, what? But anyway, she says the claims are unauthenticated, and hopefully the person leaving the comment can move with love moving forward. I don't like that response. I don't think it's fair. I'm not in the situation. I've lost all the taste in my mouth for that situation. I will say there are a lot of people who are looking at Ashley and they're looking down at her, and they're like, oh, she's just desperate. This is what happens when women platform marriage. I want us to stop pretending that our society isn't built like that. And I want us to stop pretending that our society isn't built like that from literally our inception. I want us to stop pretending that it's something that we're just socialized and culturalized, and that it's not like a very spiritual and emotional need that a lot of people have for partnership and for committed partnership, especially when you come from the background that Ashley or Tyler came from. To hear Tyler tell it, he had to get it out the mud with whatever was going on with his family. Ashley's like, I'm going to stay married unlike my mama did. Couple that with the natural desire to have a partner. She may not have done the respectable thing, that girl thing, but she did the human thing. That's very human. Humans platform partnership. She definitely found a partner she's not going to let go of. And Tyler, he's lucky. He's lucky. He hitched his cart to a good wagon, and she's not letting go of him. I'm sure they're happy. Everything that the baby mama admitted to was, it was just diabolical. Like, I can't in any world understand or justify, if that is the truth, what he has done. And I felt really bad for her because she doesn't seem to know the beast that is social media. She doesn't understand virality. She doesn't understand how quickly something becomes not yours anymore once you put it on the internet. Within seconds of her telling her story, it was everywhere. People had re-uploaded it to TikTok. It was on YouTube. It's on YouTube in all the parts. She did like 5 parts. It's already on YouTube. So you already have people that are making money off of your content and your story. I wish that somebody had reached out to her and was like, hey, I'll do an interview with you. I'll represent you. We can do this professionally. But I think I'm inclined to believe her because I recognize what she did as an act of desperation to get her truth out there. She probably really feels abandoned. And I can only imagine. So once again, I am raising an eyebrow at my good sis, Ashley. And it's not because she's stuck by her man, because people do that every day. But it's because how do you condemn another woman in the process? That's what there's nothing wrong with sticking by your man as long as it's, in my mind, as long as it makes sense, and it's for the greater good. You've condemned this other woman in the process. At least that's what we know. And so I don't respect that. And then to defend him in that way, the unauthenticated, girl, what are you talking about? We see the pictures. We see it. What is going on? But then I know social media doesn't always know what they're talking about. I should know better than anyone. We won't know the truth unless people decide to speak on the truth. And something tells me that the way Ashley is, she seems to be, one of those they don't need to know my business. I'll tell, whatever, right? So I feel like we might not ever really know the truth. I don't know. But I know that it was a wild night online on Saturday night. And for those of us who had no other plans, I was just going back and forth between the apps to see what was going on. Okay, that's enough of Love is Blind. I'm going to talk about two other things real quick, and then I'm going to wrap this up. I want to talk about the death of Liam Payne. I can't say I loved everything, but they had some hits. Okay. I had no idea that Liam led a lot of the songs. No clue. And then I think Harry obviously had the most successful solo career, even though Zayn broke out first. I think his personal issues kept him from really taking off. But regardless, they were extremely important to a generation of people, probably about 10, 15 years younger than me. But they were also important to me. I was turning it up. Their song, A Story of My Life, it is a great road trip song. I love listening to that when I'm traveling. And also, it came out when I was about 30 years old. And I was really thinking about the story of my own life and what it would be. Their song, it's called Steal My Girl. Oh, I love that song. To this day, I will go online, I'll go on YouTube, and I will watch that and dance around. I have a boy band playlist that I love. I grew up, obviously in the era of Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. And I felt like One Direction could never match what we had because they wasn't doing no dancing. That's how I felt. But they were really great for that generation. And if you happen to know kids that were young around that time, which I did, 10, 12, 11, they loved them. They loved them so intensely. And I'm always going to have a big heart for anybody and anything that was a part of the collective cultural memory in a positive way. And so when I found out that he had died, I was struggling. Tears in my eyes. I had a really hard time for a couple of days. I mean, I was like, she's always listening, but I was like, let's not play One Direction, Story of My Life, while I was drinking coffee. Okay? Because it meant something to me that they were around, and I felt good knowing that the boys had grown up and were doing well in their respective lives. And I think a couple years ago, Liam started to become a bit of a joke. He went from being, one of the whatever breakout stars to he's now a young father. I always thought he was super handsome. He had some solo music. I don't know. He went from that to people saying, oh, he's doing these interviews where he sounds kind of bitter. Oh, he was in fights with the other boys in the band. What does he do to his face? Did he have some kind of plastic surgery? And then come the abuse allegations. So he was apparently dating this little girl named Maya Henry when he died. And I say little girl, but she's in her early 20s. Apparently her family is a rich Texas family. I see the signs, Thomas J. Henry, all the time. That's her dad. If you live in Texas, Thomas J. Henry is Liam Henry's ex-girlfriend, Maya Henry's father. And they used to have a YouTube channel called Living with Los Henrys. They wanted to be like the Kardashians. I mean, they've always been very active on social media. She's always been very celebrity adjacent. So she starts dating him, and apparently it was not a great experience for her. And she decided to write a book about the abuse, and he knew that the book was coming out. And he was consistently trying to call her, trying to text her, trying to reach out to her. And she was considering pressing charges on him and getting a restraining order when he passed away, or in the process of it. And so that was an extremely messy situation. She had done an interview a couple of days before he died where she was like, his friends and things were telling me not to put out the book because his mental health wasn't the best right now. But it's whatever, I can tell my truth. She has a right to tell her story. Should she be merciful? I don't know. That's her decision, but whatever. She decided not to be merciful. She decided to put it out there. And when he died, he knew it was coming out. I think it's maybe even already released. A lot of people were saying that some of the last things he saw when he died were people commenting, you're a loser, you're an abuser, all over his social media accounts. I think the way he died was really sad. I know it happened in Argentina. They said he was screaming and yelling in the hotel lobby. Then he went up to his room. He was throwing things around, and people say he jumped to his death, but now they're saying he just leaned over a balcony and he fell. He was apparently on a lot of drugs. He had a very heavy addiction issue. Overall, my heart just broke because to me, he's still a baby boy. He's still that baby boy that I saw when X Factor was a new show, when all those shows were new, when people used to sit around and watch the X Factor auditions and they would go viral. Like, who remembers Susan Boyle? Okay, that used to be good TV. It used to be great. Like, I would watch it on, on replay on YouTube. And I always knew like who was who was new from the show, who was coming out, who was going to do whatever. I think X Factor actually produced people that we actually listen to versus like The Voice. I have never heard a single song from anybody who's ever won The Voice. I don't know a single winner, but I can tell you X Factor, we had Leona Lewis, we had Little Mix. There's obviously, what are they called? One Direction. We had an American group too. What are they? Fifth Harmony. Are they X Factor? I think so. So there's a lot of people that come off that show and I'm like, oh, okay, you did something. But yeah, The Voice, I don't know. American Idol in its latter years, I don't know a single person. But the X Factor actually produced talent that would go on the radio. And I don't know, I feel like it was a really sad thing for me. I was really struggling, even though I'm 90 years old and but I felt really connected to that, that part of life and to those now men, but I still see them as baby boys. Like Harry Styles is still a baby boy to me. Niall is still a baby boy. Lewis is still a baby boy. Zayn is a man. But no, they're still little and he's so young. He should still be here. Like I had a hard time. I had a very hard time with that last week. Anyway, one last thing before I wrap this up. Beyonce is back. She was never gone. She was never. I think people, with her, it's always going to be a very volatile relationship. She said it in one of her songs. She said, flip, flopping ass bitch in one of her songs. And I think that correctly sums up the public's relationship with her to a certain extent, right? Me personally, even when I was raising an eyebrow because of the Diddy allegations, and I took a step back, I didn't listen to any Beyonce for a little while until the Olympics, honestly. So from like March until the Olympics or May until the Olympics, whenever he was originally, found out about, I was hurt. Okay. But I would never get online and besmirk her name. I would never write under the comments and I would never support the conspiracies. And when I was ready, I came back with a vengeance. I think the last thing I did was I sat through Homecoming. I had never watched the whole Homecoming documentary and I finally watched the whole thing. Anyway, she is back and she is back with a candle, a $60 candle. And I have decided the one thing I'm going to do for myself is I'm going to finally get my hands on some sacred products. I love the scent of oud. That's like my favorite scent. I love it. And so I'm excited to try it out. People say that it really, really does help hair growth. I do want to say I've recently been using the Tabitha Brown products. And while I feel like it's really great for a twist out because there is almost a hardening that happens. And this is my experience. It's a hardening that happens and it's good for hair growth too. It helps growth. I just wish it was lighter. Like I wish my hair felt lighter after using it. With the Pattern products, my hair feels lighter, but it's harder to do like the twist outs and the style for me. I don't know, but y'all, I don't really know, I don't know. Those are the two products that I've tried that are like celebrity brands, Tabitha Brown and Pattern. I have both of them. I exchange them in and out. With Pattern, my hair feels softer, but it doesn't hold style as well. With Tabitha Brown, it grows more, but it's like harder. It doesn't, move as like loosely. So with Beyonce, I'm excited to see what I experience with Sacred. I do want me a candle, even though it's a single wick. I want to say the Anthropology candles, those are really good candles. Those are single wick. So, and those are expensive as well. But yeah, I was happy to see, she came out with another product because she gonna keep doing it. But also, I started to see people respond to the conspiracies and kind of turn the tide for her a little bit on social media. Not that she needs it. She'll always be fine. But just as a viewer and a fan, it was getting a little bit ridiculous. So I was happy to see that change. All right. Those are all the things that I wanted to touch base on in this video. And now I have. If you sat all the way through this yapping until the end, thank you so much. And the next time you see me, we will be talking about those Love is Blind weddings. I already know who gets married, but I already learned my lesson. And I'm not going to tell you because y'all yelled at me last time. And y'all aren't going to yell at me about this show again. You already yelled at me in my last video. We're going to chill out on each other for a second. Why am I doing that? We're going to chill out on each other for a second until Wednesday, okay? And then we're going to talk about these weddings. But yeah, I already know who gets married because I looked up the spoilers because something's wrong with me. Anyway, that is all for now. As always, thank you for watching.